Hello viewers, welcome to this session. I am going to present before you the modules, the theories of policy analysis, theoretical approaches. This module has been divided into two parts, part A and part B. Starting with part A of the module, theories of policy analysis, theoretical approaches. After reading this unit, you will be able to understand various theoretical approaches to policy analysis and their implications. Introduction. Public policy process is a highly complex and arduous one involving several aspects and dimensions and being influenced by number of factors. It is important to understand the policy process in all its dimensions. Various scholars of public administration have tried to do this and in an attempt to do so have developed theoretical approaches. Even though each theoretical approach is significant in itself, but some approaches are more influential than others. Starting with theoretical approaches, first coming to group theory. According to the group theory of politics, public policy is the product of the group struggle. One writer suggests what may be called public policy is the equilibrium reached in this group struggle at any given moment, and it represents a balance which the contended factions or groups constantly strive to weigh in their favor. Many public policies do reflect the activities of groups. Examples include the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations and minimum wage legislation, farm groups and agricultural subsidies. The National Rifle Association arid gun control policies and the National Education Association and federal aid to public schools. Group theory rests on the contention that interaction and struggle among groups are the central facts of political life. A group is a collection of individuals that may, on the basis of shared attitudes or interests, make claims upon other groups in society. It becomes a political interest group when it makes a claim through or upon any of the institutions of government. And many groups do just that. The individual is significant in politics only as a participant in or a representative of groups. It is through groups that individuals seek to secure their political preferences. A central concept in group theory is that of access. To have influence and to be able to help shape government decisions, a group must have access or the opportunity to express its viewpoints to decision makers. Obviously, if a group is unable to communicate with decision makers, if no one in government will listen, or its chances of affecting policy making are slim. Access may result from the groups being organized, from their having status, good leadership or resources such as money for campaign contributions, social lobbying, the winning, dining and entertaining of legislators and other public officials can be understood as an effort to create access by engendering a feeling of obligation to the groups involved. Then, when a group wishes to discuss policy matters with an official, it will have an opportunity to present its case or have its telephone calls returned. Contributions to legislators by political action committees are also often justified as a way of acquiring or maintaining access. In the nature of things, some groups will have more access than others. Public policy at any given time will reflect the interests of those who are dominant. As groups gain and lose power and influence, public policy will be altered in favor of the interests of those gaining influence against the interests of those losing it. The role of government, that is official groups, in policy formulation is described by one proponent of group theory. The legislature referees the group struggle ratifies the victories of the successful coalitions and records the terms of the surrenders, compromises and conquests in the form of statutes. Every statute tends to represent compromises because the process of accommodating conflicts of group interests is tone of deliberation and consent. The legislative vote on any issue tends to represent the composition of strength, that is, the balance of power among the contending groups at the moment. Administrative agencies of the regulatory kind are established to carry out the terms of the treaties that the legislators have negotiated and ratified. The judiciary, like the civilian bureaucracy, is one of the instrumentalities for the administration of the agreed rules. Group theory focuses on one of the major dynamic elements in policy formulation, especially in pluralist societies such as the United States, but it seems both to overstate the importance of groups and to understate the independent and creative role that public officials can play in the policy process. Indeed, many groups have been generated by public policies. The American Farm Bureau Federation, which developed around the Agricultural Extension Program, is a notable example, as is the National Welfare Rights Organization. Public officials also may acquire a stake in particular programs and act as an interest group supporting their continuance. In the United States, some welfare agency employees, including social workers, prefer current programs with their emphasis on supervision and services as well as benefits to a guaranteed annual income, which would probably eliminate some of their jobs. Another shortcoming of group theory is that in actuality many people, for example, the poor and disadvantaged, and interests, such diffuse interests as natural beauty and social justice, are either not represented or only poorly represented in the group struggle. As Professor E. Schatzkiedner remarks about the under-organization of the poor, the flaw in the pluralist heaven is that the heavenly chorus sings with strong upper-class accent. Those who are not represented will have little voice in policy making, and thus their interests are likely to be slighted therein. Finally, from a methodological perspective, it is misleading and inefficient to try to explain politics and policy making solely in terms of interests and the group struggle. This bias leads to neglect of many other factors such as ideas and institutions which abound and which independently affect the development of policy. The reductionism or uncaused explanation that results when all political phenomena are crammed into the group concept should therefore be avoided. Next, coming to systems theory. The origin of general systems theory can be traced back to the natural sciences. Ludwig von Bartenfly, a biologist in the 1920s, may be regarded as the earliest exponent of the general systems theory. In social sciences, the demand for unification of sciences, a key concept of general systems theory, was made only after the Second World War. In its operational forms, its roots are found in anthropology. It was later adopted in sociology, psychology, and last of all in political science. Among political scientists, David Easton is considered as forerunner to apply the systems approach of policy analysis. Its links can be traced in social anthropology, especially in the works of Emile Durkheim, A.R. Radcliffe Brown, and Bronislaw Malinowski, Robert K. Merton, and Talcott Parsons, who have made significant contributions to system theory framework. If David Easton and Gabriel A. Almond have made significant contributions in the arena of politics at the level of the nations, Kalpan has applied it in the field of international politics. The central proposition of the system theory is that all social phenomena, which include political phenomena, are interrelated. Society witnesses activities in spheres like social, economic, cultural, political, and religious actions. They affect each other. In the light of this approach, it is assured that it is not possible to understand one part of social action in isolation from the other parts which affect its operation. For example, to know about the formulation of laws, we must study more than just the legislative machinery. We must also study such factors as the pressure tactics applied to decision makers and the way they think about the possible effect of a law on the citizens. Hence, any political question must be related to a broader social context. The systems theory covers all types of public policy. In its broadest sense, the term system denotes any set of interrelated elements. For example, when we speak of a university system, it includes all the buildings, teachers, students, administrators, and supporting personnel and machinery to run the educational institutions which are closely related to each other. Like political, economic, social, and other systems, the political system also has to be analyzed from the point of view of its functions like policy making, policy implementation, etc. Politics as a social activity manages political conflict. People in the society are directly affected by political actions and they oppose all those political actions if they are adversely affecting them. The decision makers have to take the conflicting points of view of the citizens into consideration at the time of taking decisions. The diverse socio-economic backgrounds of the individuals give rise to conflict of interest among them. The conflicts have to be resolved through political regulations which penetrate into the different strata of the society. The extent to which political action and penetration would be effective would depend on the prevailing social situation. The political action and penetration result in positive and negative reactions from the society. The system approach views politics as the activities and structures of a system. The political leaders are faced with demands of the people in a particular political system. The success of the system depends on how these demands are fulfilled. These demands take the form of public policies. The decision makers for these purposes have to make public policy decisions and supervise their implementation of the policies. The different parts of the political system are coordinated through the mechanism of communications. While people benefited from the policies render support to the political system, others demand benefits from the system. After understanding what is a system and how it operates in a society, now we must know that the field of political system has become increasingly common in the field of political science in general and in the field of public policy in particular. Either the political scientists used such terms as government, nation or state to describe what we are calling a political system. This new terminology reflects new way of looking at political phenomena. What is the political system? How do we define its boundaries? What gives political system its special identity? Many of the political scientists have explained these in different ways. For instance, David Easton explains those political systems which allocate the goods to its citizens in a systematic manner. Thus, the political system is a central system which is having direct relationship with all other subsystems. The political system is a complex system which can be classified into several categories in terms of the functions. It is easier to understand the fundamental political processes through these fundamental categories. There are units of varying complexity between individual rules and the total political system. These units are called subsystems. There are also systems in the sense that they are composed of differentiated units or roles in performing certain functions. They are subsystems in the sense that they are only parts of the total system. Hence, they act both as a system in themselves and as subsystem in relation to the whole system. There is a hierarchy of subsystems from higher to lower. For instance, the social system, economic system, cultural system, geographical system and political system are the subsystems in a society. Every subsystem is also having a subsystem within it. The various functions of subsystems would influence each other. Hence, all subsystems influence the other subsystems. Hence, the change is inevitable and continuous process. This is how the functioning of political system depends on the functions of other subsystems. The political system does not exist in a vacuum. Political systems accumulate large interactions through which they may seek to cope with their environment. Through these, they may regulate their behavior, transform their internal structure and even remodel their fundamental goals. There is a constant interaction between the system and its environment. It is helpful to think of outputs flowing from the environment into the political system. These are in the form of demands and supports. Political systems may be seen as meeting challenges of various types of demands from the environment. The political system may cope up with these demands in varying ways, from adapting the structure of the systems to meeting the demands to changing the allocation of scarce resources or to changing the character of the environment. The system approach views politics as the activities and structures of a system. The political leaders are faced with demands of the people in a particular political system. The success of the system depends on how these demands are fulfilled. These demands take the form of public policies. The decision makers for these purposes have to make public policy decisions and supervise their implementation of the policies. The different parts of the political system are coordinated through the mechanism of communications.